Howdy everybody, Chris here. We're back in the garage and today we're going to be doing a repair that you might be doing at home. And this is replacing a front bumper on your vehicle. We got a Toyota Camry here that had a damaged front bumper cover. We're going to completely replace it and paint it today. I'm going to walk you through the entire process and I'm going to do it just like you would do it at home in an open garage with no paint booth. And I'm not going to be blowing smoke, telling you that it's going to be perfect. And I'm going to show you exactly what happens as it happens and what kind of things you might need to overcome if you're attempting this repair at home. So let's get in the garage and make some noise. If you're familiar with the channel, you might have seen this compressor before. This is a compressor I picked up at Harbor Freight. Cost me about $375. It is a 26 gallon compressor and it produces 4.5 SCFM at 90 PSI. This compressor works fantastic for painting. Is it absolutely perfect? No. If you're painting your entire vehicle, are you going to have some air fluctuation? Probably. I have not painted an entire vehicle with this yet. If you're deciding on a compressor, looking for a compressor to use for painting, CFM is what you need to be concerned about, not the real size of the compressor, because they have small compressors that produce a lot of CFMs. Now, they're not necessarily cheap, but the CFM is what you want to know. The SCFM just means, I think it stands for sustained CFM. If I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments below. So if you're doing a repair like this and your bumper's damaged badly enough, you're going to need to replace your bumper. Now, there's a lot of different sources for aftermarket parts. Obviously, you can get them online. Even Amazon sells aftermarket bumper covers. Now, we picked ours up at a local aftermarket supplier. There are different types of aftermarket bumpers. They have something that's called a Kappa certified, which is a little bit higher quality. It fits a little bit better. And then they have the generic aftermarket bumper as well. Those are usually a little bit cheaper. This was a raw bumper. There was no primer on this bumper, which is not typical for an aftermarket part. So we had to do some additional prep on this bumper cover. So the way you prep a raw bumper that has not been primed is you want to use a sanding paste. This is what we use. A sanding paste is like a coarse paste, kind of like a liquid Comet. And we use that with a scuff pad and some water, and we just scuff up the entire bumper cover. This is really good and helpful to get into all those little nooks and crannies that are very difficult to sand. And then you want to wash all that paste off, dry it, clean it, and now what I'm doing is applying an adhesion promoter over this plastic. It's very important to apply an adhesion promoter so you get good adhesion between your bumper cover and your sealer. And we are going to apply sealer over this bumper cover before we apply our paint. I always seal all my plastic parts and I always use adhesion promoter. Adhesion promoter also acts as a flex agent, so it gives that bumper and that paint a little bit more flex if it were to get bumped.
All right, we're going to apply some sealer with the Yellowcraft Drizzle D1. We're going to do 2.5 turns out on the fluid volume, fans wide open, and air pressure probably around 19-20 psi.
Applying the first coat of sealer, we want to put it on kind of a medium coat of sealer. We don't want to put it on super wet and super heavy because that's going to cause fish eyes. So a medium to wet coat of sealer is going to be perfect. And if it's really cold out, I would apply a light coat of sealer just to introduce that product to the surface so you don't get those reactions. Apply your sealer just like you would base coat. You want to have a nice consistent speed. You want to overlap your passes about 80%. So you make a pass, you want to overlap that pass 80% as you make your second pass. But a consistent speed, consistent distance from the panel are going to give you a nice, even, flat finish. Since we did put our first coat of sealer on fairly light, we're going to go ahead and apply a second coat. So we have enough sealer on this bumper that's going to give us the proper flex and protection when we apply our base coat. Before we get into mixing up our base coat, let's go ahead and talk about the sealer that we used on this project. Now, I use the U-POL 2253V, which can be used as a 2K high build primer, so you can use it over body filler, and you can also use it as a sealer, depending on how you mix it. Now, some guys will prefer a dedicated sealer for their project, and there's plenty of different primers and sealers that you can pick out there. Personally, I prefer the versatility of this U-POL 2253V because I can use it as a high build primer, I can use it as a primer surfacer, which is just a thinner primer, or I can use it as a sealer before I lay down my base coat. And I've been using this product for many years. It's budget friendly and it sands out beautifully, and I have not had an issue with it. This product just fits perfectly for collision shops and DIY enthusiasts that are working on their own project. If you want to learn more about different types of primers and how to use them, check out my digital guide at garagenoisegear.com. This guide is just a great way to determine what kind of primer is going to be perfect for your project. It's going to go over detailed instructions on how to use it and in what situation you'll use it for. Okay, it's time to mix up our base coat. I'm mixing up Nason XL, and this mixes up 2-to-1. So we do 2 parts paint, 1 part urethane reducer. We're going to mix it up thoroughly, lock on our cap to our disposable cup system, and we'll lock down the collar and we'll be ready to spray. Our gun settings for base coat are going to be really similar to our sealer settings. About 20 psi on the air pressure. And then as far as our fluid volume, 3 turns out from closed. So I close the fluid volume all the way, open it up 3 turns out, and our fan is wide open. Remember that these gun settings are just a guide. You may need to adjust these depending on the gun that you're using, the material that you're using, and the temperature in the air. So don't be afraid to adjust your gun settings if you're not getting a smooth, flat finish. You're looking for high atomization of your base coat. Remember that your air pressure and your fluid volume work together to atomize that paint or clear coat or whatever you're spraying. And we're spraying this just like sealer. We want a consistent distance from the panel. We want to overlap our passes about 80%. Overlap is critical when you're spraying metallics, so you get a nice consistent orientation of your metallics when you spray. Now that we got a couple good coats of base on our bumper, we're going to blend into this fender. Now the first 4 to 5 inches of this fender we're going to cover really well. We'll put 1 coat on, we'll let it flash off for about 10 to 15 minutes. While our first coat is flashing off, we're going to use the sunlight to check for any transparent areas, and then we'll go ahead and put on our second coat. I'll get a good medium to wet coat on the front of that fender because that's where it's most important. We want to make sure the fender and the bumper cover match. We've got a good transition right there, and then we'll blend out into the fender a bit to get that transition really nice and uniform. What we don't want to do is to get paint up at the top of that fender because we want that hood and that fender to match. For our second coat on the bumper, we're going to get a nice wet coat. This is our coverage coat because we introduced that paint to the surface on our first coat. Now we don't have to worry about any reaction. We can put it on a little bit heavier so we get good coverage. White is a little bit tricky. You think it would cover really well, but it's very easy for primer or sealer to hide in that white. So make sure you get a light. Make sure you're looking over all the edges so you make sure you get good coverage and don't have any problems after you clear coat. Applying the final blend here, you're going to see I'm going to go out into the fender just a little bit more, but as I transition out into that fender, I'm turning my wrist and I might even move away from the panel a little bit because I don't want to get it really heavy out in the middle of the fender. We just want a light coat over that to get a good transition. Mixing up some clear, we're going to use the FC710. This is a spot panel clear coat, so it dries quickly. It's perfect for the DIYer. Great in this situation because I need this to dry up pretty quick. We are, however, using a slow activator. The reason why we're using a slow activator is it's going to let it flow out just a little bit more because this kicks pretty quick. This mixes up 4 to 1. We are using the Intercraft Drizzle D1. It's a low volume, low pressure paint gun, and I love this gun. If you're just starting out, pick up this gun. It's under $100, produces a beautiful looking finish. It's pretty easy to use, and it's going to consume less air and produce less overspray. So perfect for painting in an open garage. So as far as the gun settings on this, there's no magic gun settings for clear coat. It's always changing because different guns, different clear coats, different temperatures, you're gonna have different gun settings. But this is a good guide for your gun settings for clear coat. We're doing 3 turns out from closed, so we close it all the way, 3 turns out from closed on the fluid volume. The fan pattern is wide open, and we're gonna run this at about 26 PSI at the regulator. Now that's with the trigger pulled. We may adjust that if we feel like we need to atomize a little bit better. We may bump up that pressure just a little bit. We'll spray our first coat and see how it flows out. Because I'm using a spot panel clear here, I'm going to spray it how I want it to look. And what that means is as I'm spraying, I'm evaluating the clear coat, how it's laying down, how it's flowing out, and I'm going to hit it pretty heavy on the first coat. And then on the second coat, I'm going to hit it even heavier, slow down a little bit, and I really want to spray it how I want it to look because it's not going to change much. It's not going to flow out a ton. You're not going to have to worry about a lot of runs with this clear coat. It sets up pretty quick. So because of that, you want to put it on there how you want it to look with this particular clear and this gun. Now, other clears are going to be different. Some clears are going to be thinner and they're going to flow out a little bit easier and they're going to run easier. So you got to be careful. But as long as you're watching the clear when it lays down, so what I mean by watching the clear is you're evaluating that clear in the light and keeping a spray distance of 4 to 5 inches away with a consistent speed, then you won't have issues with runs. What I want you to do as far as evaluating the clear is when you're laying that clear down, get in the light and watch how it's laying on the panel. If you see that it's a little bit dry, then that means you're going to need more clear on it. So you need to move a little bit closer to the panel or you need to slow down. So you can adjust how that clear coat lays on the panel just by adjusting your speed and your distance from the panel. If you notice that your clear coat's laying down rough or heavy, like a lot of orange peel, that's a good indication that you need more atomization. So you need to bump up your air pressure a little bit to get a finer droplet to land on that panel. That's going to give you a flatter clear coat finish. If it's minimal orange peel, you can correct that by maybe speeding up a little bit and spraying a little bit closer to the panel, letting it flow out a little bit better. So more material is going to help it to flow out just a little bit better, and that should correct minimal orange peel. But let's face it, there's going to be orange peel in any paint job, any clear coat. You're going to have a minimal amount of orange peel. So getting an absolute flat finish is not realistic, and really you want some peel so you can match the original finish. So here's how it looks after the first coat of clear. I'm just taking a light right here and really just looking over the clear coat, seeing if I have any dry areas or rough areas, seeing if I have any dirt that I'm going to have to correct after we finish. So just evaluating it, but it looks pretty good, nice and smooth. Looks like an OEM finish. The fenders look fantastic. It's very important after the first coat of clear to let that clear coat flash off. So what we're doing is we're letting those chemicals evaporate out of the surface so we don't trap anything in our second coat and cause solvent pops or any other issues down the road. And typically the flash times for this clear coat or any clear coat is 10 to 15 minutes. You always do want to check with your technical data sheet. That'll give you the proper flash times for the clear coat that you're using. There is a little test you can do before you apply your second coat of clear coat. And what I like to do is I touch the tape where I've cleared. If I touch it and strings coming off of it, it's not quite ready for our second coat. If it's tacky, you're good to go. Now on the second coat of clear here, you may notice I'm going a little bit slower, really evaluating that clear coat. You want to overlap your passes about 80% on both coats of clear and make sure you're getting good coverage. You might notice I'm going very slow here, very methodical, overlapping my passes 80%, making sure I have a consistent distance and a consistent speed. And you can spray faster than this. You would just have to use more air pressure and have more fluid coming out of the gun and spray a little bit closer to the panel, and you could spray a lot quicker than this. Personally, with white, I like to spray a little bit slower because it's a little bit harder to see that clear coat as it's laying down. You kind of get a little lost in that white. When you're spraying darker colors, it's much easier to see how that clear coat's laying down. But with white, I'm not in a hurry. You shouldn't be in a hurry either. If you're just starting out, take your time. You don't have to spray super fast to get a good finish. If you're new to painting, I know I went over a lot of information in this video and it's going to be hard to absorb. So for that reason, I've created digital guides that are going to help walk you through the entire process. And if you want to check those out, you can find those at GarageNoiseGear.com. Just finishing up the clear coat here. I did run out at the last second, so we had to mix up a little bit extra clear. But overall, this finish came out beautifully. The gun sprayed fantastic. It's a nice OEM style finish. It's not perfectly flat and it's not perfectly dust free. But this is something you guys can do at home. It's not that difficult. So if you have the desire, save yourself a little money. do this at home, and you can get a beautiful looking finish like this. There's a lot of different materials you can use, but if you want to use the materials I used in this video and check them out, you can find those links in the description. They are affiliate links to Amazon, but the clear coat, the primers, all the things that I use are going to be down there as well as that gun. I want to hear from you. What do you think of the results? Do you think this is something that you could do at home? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, I appreciate each and every one of you watching. If you found this information helpful, give me that big thumbs up. And if you want to see more, subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you on the next episode of Garage Noise.